Hello, I'm James at Bright Futures English, and today we're looking at the present perfect tense. Most students are well aware of how to form the present perfect, but what does it actually mean? I said that most students know the structure of the present perfect, and if you're one of those people, you might want to skip ahead. Otherwise, let's look at the formula. We have the subject, the auxiliary verb to have, the verb in the past participle form. The past participle, remember, is the third form of the verb. So, for example, eat, ate, eaten, swim, swam, swum, do, did, done, am, is, are, was, were, been. And finally, any object. Example, I have eaten lunch, you have eaten lunch, we have eaten lunch, they have eaten lunch. Remember, for third person, we change the have to has. So he has eaten lunch, she has eaten lunch, it has eaten lunch. A common noun, the dog, for example, has eaten lunch. And any proper noun, the name of someone, Matt Hancock has eaten lunch. And when spoken, the subject and the auxiliary verb is usually contracted. I've eaten lunch, you've eaten lunch, we've, they've. For third person, he's eaten lunch, she's eaten lunch, it's, the dogs, and even for names, we often contract when spoken. Matt Hancock's eaten lunch. For the negative, we just add not after the auxiliary verb. I have not, you have not, we have not, and then down for the third person, has not. And again, when spoken, usually contracted, this time the auxiliary verb with not. I haven't, you haven't, we haven't, they haven't eaten lunch. Third person, he hasn't, she hasn't, it hasn't, the dog hasn't, Matt Hancock hasn't eaten lunch. So, now we can form the present perfect, but how do we actually use it? The present perfect has two main uses, and both are about past actions. But hang on, you might think, if they're about past actions, why do we call it the present perfect? Well, we'll come to that later, but first let's look at each use in more detail. The first use is for a past action that is still true. You're probably familiar with this structure. We use for or since to tell us how long ago the action started. For example, Scott has lived in Paris since 2016. In 2016, Scott started to live in Paris, and now, in 2021, Scott still lives in Paris. Scott has lived in Paris for 5 years. Same meaning. 5 years ago, in 2016, Scott started to live in Paris. Now, in 2021, Scott still lives in Paris. If we compare the present perfect sentence, Scott has lived in Paris since 2016, to the simple past sentence, Melissa lived in Paris in 2016, there's a difference. The simple past sentence is talking about a past action that has finished. Melissa does not live in Paris now. The present perfect sentence is talking about a past action that's still true. Scott started to live in Paris in 2016, and Scott still lives in Paris. So this makes sense for it to be called the present perfect. How about using the present perfect without for or since? We can also use the present perfect to talk about past actions that are finished. Matt Hancock has eaten lunch, for example. This action is finished. Matt is not eating his lunch now. We could use the simple past sentence, Matt Hancock ate lunch. What's the difference? Nothing, really. It just depends on the context, the situation, the ideas around the sentence. With the present perfect, Matt Hancock has eaten lunch, the sentence stands alone. The focus is on the completion of the action. We don't know any additional information. We don't know when, where, what, why, or who with. Just that the eating happened. Or did not happen. Stephanie hasn't eaten lunch. Stephanie didn't eat lunch. The action or opportunity to perform the action in the past did not happen. If you look at present perfect structures and compare them to simple past structures, you'll notice that the simple past will usually give additional information. I watched a movie last night, telling us when. I ate lunch with Sam, telling us with whom. She met her friend at the mall, telling us where. He travelled to Korea last year, telling us when. They graduated university in 2012, telling us when. I messaged him so he doesn't forget, telling us why. In questions, we often use these words with the simple past. When did you? What did you? Where did you? Why did you? Who did you? How did you? If you don't see the additional information actually in the sentence, it's probably still clear in the context. Did you see John yesterday? Yes, I went to his office. The person asking gives a specific time. The person responding doesn't need to repeat the word yesterday in his answer. Yes, I went to his office yesterday. We often know the when, where, what, why from the context of the situation. The present perfect, however, you will see alone. No additional information. Even in the context of the conversation, the when, where, what, who, why will not be clear. I have spoken to John, not I have spoken to John yesterday. Here we do not mention any when, where, what, why, and so on. We just focus on the fact the action is complete. Or I haven't spoken to John, the action is not completed. We either don't know when, where, or why, or we don't care, it's not important. Have you informed the students? It doesn't matter when. I've seen this movie. You don't care when, or who with, or where. I've lost my keys. I don't know when, and I don't know where. Now we know how to form the present perfect and how it compares to the simple past. What about situations where you might want to use it? Let's take a look at a real-life situation. This is Jenny, and she works in a busy office.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Helen. What did you eat for lunch? I ate salad.
Okay, this is kind of strange, to be honest. If you want to ask somebody what they ate for lunch, it's more common to use the verb have. What did you have for lunch? And rather than saying, I ate a sandwich, you'd probably say, I had a sandwich. But just for the demonstration, let's keep it simple. We'll keep the word as eat. Helen asked the question, what did you eat for lunch? This is a past, simple past question. She's referring to a specific time in the past, lunchtime. Jenny answers with a simple past response. She says, I ate salad. She's referring to a specific time in the past. She uses simple past. From the context of the situation, we know when. So Jenny uses the simple past in response. I ate a salad. This is Mike. He works at the same company as Jenny and Helen, but in a different department. He likes Jenny, and everyone in the office knows. Jenny is single, but not interested in Mike. Hi, Jen.
Oh, hey, Mike.
I'm going to grab some lunch. Do you want to come?
Oh, I've eaten, thanks.
Jenny ate her lunch early. She does not want to go with Mike and eat lunch again. So she answers with the present perfect, I've eaten. It doesn't matter when she had her lunch, it doesn't matter what she ate or who she ate it with or where. What's important is the action is complete. There's also another clue about using the present perfect tense, and that is with the question. When Helen asked Jenny earlier, what did you eat for lunch? She was talking about the past. She used simple past question about a specific time. Jenny answered with a simple past response, I ate a salad. But this time, Mike asks a different question. He asks, do you want to come and have lunch with me? Mike is asking a present question, present simple, do you want? He's asking about now. Do you want to come and have lunch with me now? Jenny could answer, no, I don't want to come and have lunch with you now. But that would be a bit rude, just saying no. So what Jenny does is she uses the present perfect to talk about this past action, eat lunch. We don't know when, we don't know where, we don't know what. But the important thing is there's a link to the present. The link to the present is not hungry. I've eaten lunch is another way of saying I'm not hungry right now, so obviously the answer is no. And that's the reason that the present perfect tense, when talking about finished actions, is called the present perfect. There's always a link to the present, and that's from the context, from the situation surrounding the conversation. As with all languages, it's not exactly what you say, it's what you mean. It's the ideas that we are passing. Here's another example. Staff are back at the office after the annual holiday shutdown.
Hi, Helen. Did you have a good holiday? Yeah, thanks. How about you? Not bad, thanks. What did you do? I went to visit my family in Tewkesbury.
Helen asks Jenny, what did you do? They're referring to the recent time off work, a specific time in the past. All of the activities are finished. She uses the simple past question, and Jenny responds with, I went to visit my family. Simple past. We're talking about the past, finished action. We know when it is from the context of the conversation.
Tewkesbury? In Gloucestershire? Yeah, that's right. I've been there. It's a beautiful town, isn't it?
Helen mentions the town of Tewkesbury, and at some point in the past, Jenny went to Tewkesbury, maybe more than once. We don't know. It's not important how many times she went, when she went, who she went with, or why she went there. What's important is there is a link to the present. It's a signal to Helen that Jenny has knowledge about the town of Tewkesbury, and they can have a conversation and share their experiences about the town if Helen wants to talk about Tewkesbury.
I've been there. It's a beautiful town, isn't it? It is. I grew up there. No way! I didn't know that. I went there all the time when I was a kid. My aunt and uncle lived there. Wow, what a small world. I thought you were from up north. Had no idea that you had a family in the Midlands. Do you remember the area your aunt and uncle lived in?
Once Jenny mentions that she has been to Tewkesbury and signalled to Helen that there's a potential conversation topic, the structures change to the simple past. Helen grew up there. Jenny didn't know that. She went there as a kid, and her aunt and uncle lived there. But hang on, earlier Helen used the simple past. I went to Tewkesbury. What did you do over the holiday, I went to Tewkesbury. And then Jenny says, I have been to Tewkesbury. Go, went, gone. Why doesn't Jenny say, I've gone to Tewkesbury? Well, to answer that, we need to look at the focus of the sentence. I have been to Tewkesbury is using the verb to be. We're focusing on the experience there, to be in a place, not focusing on going to or the journey to. It's the focus on the experience. But an easy way to remember it really is has gone, we use if the person's still there. The focus is on a journey. The person goes to this place and, well, they're not here anymore, they've gone. Has been is about to be in the place, it's the experience. So has gone, still there. Has been, go, come back. An easier way to remember it. There's one more common use for the present perfect, and that is for recent news. But again, there is a link to the present. For example, have you heard Katie in sales has given birth? Well, now we should go and congratulate her. Stock prices have fallen. And times now are going to be tough. There's been an earthquake off the coast of Papua New Guinea. Unfortunately, now people are suffering and help is needed now. Oil prices have risen. Well, now it's going to cost you more to fill your car with petrol. Well, I hope you found the video useful, and if you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing, and I'll upload more videos in the future. In the meantime, look at the following sentences and see if you can guess which structure is the appropriate structure, the simple past or the present perfect. You can put your answers in the comment section and see if you're correct.